we were like, we want to be your strategic partner. And he was like, I don't need a partner. I don't need a partner. I have a partner. I have a business partner. I need a vendor. Okay. You are a vendor. You must fix my tickets. And we were like, okay. Enough with the rhetorical skills.
I love it. That's a customer right there.
What's up, lifers, and welcome to the Daily Standup with Lifetime Value, where we're giving you fresh new customer success ideas every single day. I got my man Rob here. Rob, you want to say hi?
Hola.
And we've got JP with us. JP, do you want to say hi?
Mantequilla.
And I am your host. My name is Dylan Young. JP, I don't know what you just said, but you told us you had something you wanted to bring to the table today. Is that right?
Yes. So our good host Dylan here is always bringing in the Reddit. I'm trying to find a better word than garbage, but he's always bringing home these things from Reddit. No, that's the shot. It's Reddit, baby.
Potential
Reddit.
sponsor.
Potential sponsor Reddit.
We apologize.
So I think that there's also potential sponsor Bane.
Bane Capital?
No, the Batman villain, man. You know what?
The Batman
But
villain.
there was this, the Batman villain. No one
Can
cared
either
who
of you
I
do a
was
Bane
till I started
voice?
working in CS.
I was born in the dark.
Yeah.
Molded by it.
By the
You
time
merely
I had
adopted
my
the
first
dark.
turn, it was nothing but blindness. No, so all right. So listen. So yes, Bane references aside, they did come out with this article. By the way, it was around the end of September, 2024. Just to give you a little bit of a time, that's when it was published. And so I just saw this article and I thought that it was intriguing because it was giving me sort of a panorama. Here on the Daily Stand-Up, we have lots of great discussions with guests. I feel like a lot of times we go into topics, I feel like rarely do we look more at aggregates or maybe look at some numbers and different things. So this one had some good stuff in it. I'm just going to read off a few of the things that stood out to me, and then let's get into it, guys. So one of the first things I noticed in the article was they mentioned this mismatch between the support the vendor provides and what customers value, right? So there's this mismatch between customers who really want more implementation help and being able to deploy the product versus what the CS team's sort of first priority is, which is usually more around let's get these objectives and get a success plan. This was to me the crux of the article was really that there's this disparity between what the customer is prioritizing in terms of this technical implementation and it being like at the bottom of the list for CS folks. But the rest of the list was pretty much aligned. So that's why I say it was the crux. They also say that leading firms, they develop a clear product and customer journey blueprint, which I mean, we know that that's the best way to do it. But they also better define and coordinate post-sales roles, which is like easier said than done. Of course, I think we all want that. They also talked about some of this belonging to a shift from subscription to more usage-based pricing, definitely depending on the products that you have. One of the stats that I thought stood out was they said that about 60% of enterprise software companies now have a CS team as opposed to 40% last year. So that's like a 20% increase. So basically, they're saying that there's been more investment in CS. But of course, part of the salacious part of the title of the article was that people are getting less NRR. So there's this disparity between the investment and what people are seeing. And I'll say lastly, it said, and I can see why customers would want this, but it said that customers prefer having someone who is a technical role as a primary CS contact as opposed to a non-technical CSM. My non-technical ass was like, it got me thinking as someone who works with a product that is indeed very technical. And when I thought about that in a very practical sense, I said, when someone asks me a question, despite me maybe knowing some basics, a lot of times I have to go ask someone else and then I have to wait for a response and then I have to communicate that back to the customer. That's adding lag time and that latency does not provide an optimal customer experience. So I can see how that could shake out. But let's see what you guys think.
Can I ask some more questions just to set like a foundation? Did they talk about the demographics of the companies that they surveyed? Was
No.
it B2B versus B2C? Was it a certain size?
They use enterprise software companies, but I don't know
the
what
hell
that
does that mean?
means. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Like, is Monday.com considered enterprise? Because it's like a big piece of software, or no, because I can sign up for it self-sufficiently online. So I guess that's the crux of all of my questions here is
The accuracy of the data?
not the accuracy of the data, but the provenance of the data. Because we have, late last year, we talked with Stephen Wise twice about how you've got to truly understand your product and what the customer needs from it in order to serve them best. So this idea of heavy technical knowledge versus much more relationship based, immediately when you gave the example about wanting more technical expertise, it makes me think, who were they asking? What sort of products were they using? The idea of implementation, I think customers wanting more help with that, and companies or vendors wanting to provide as little of that as possible so that they can get to the stuff that drives up NRR for them. Well, I think that totally depends on how you define implementation, right? What does that mean
I
for
think it's
a
a more technical
customer?
product, by the way. I think that's what rang true to me. I think these are more technical products because how much implementation help do you need for some of
Yeah.
these things?
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is, as soon as we start making assumptions, this data is worthless to me. Because how do I make decisions for my company, my role, the teams I manage, if I don't know what the data is telling me? So I'm not saying, I mean, look, Bane, very smart people, but it is hard for me personally, and maybe this is just me, to make decisions based off of data if I don't understand where it's coming from, who's telling it to me, so on and so forth. But we can still talk about what it all means. I guess I have a ton of questions about whether it's actionable from my perspective. But Rob, you probably have more experience with actually dealing with this sort of stuff. I'd love to hear what you have to say or questions you have about the report.
Yeah, no, Dylan, you hit on the key thing that I was looking for. Same thing. I'm not finding enough about the research methodology around like how big was the sample size, who composed the, and look, this is probably the wannabe social scientist in me that wants to understand the survey methodology, the sample size, and what companies made up the sample and that kind of thing before I'm saying it's representative. But overall, I think there are things we agree with in here that I know the three of us agree with in here, like around proving the return on customer success. That's something we talk about all the time. And it says like many vendors have hired excessively in customer success without validating their post-sales model. And I think that's something we talk about a lot too, which is super important. But I think most of the article, honestly, look, I'll put it this way. I don't think we'd be reading this article if it weren't written by some prestigious source like Bane. I think there's a lot of stuff in here that's like super clickbaity. I think most of the findings to me, they don't seem totally internally consistent. So JP, I think you brought up a good point that the article says from the customer's perspective, assisting with technical implementation is number one. From the practitioner perspective, assisting with technical implementation is bottom of the list. Like, I don't totally think that's true in our actual lines of work. And I also think, like, the funny thing is they say that from the customer's perspective, resolving support tickets is last on the list. And then from the practitioner perspective, they don't even have resolving support tickets on the list. And I'm thinking about, there was this time, I remember I had one of the angriest customers I ever dealt with. And we were like, we want to be your strategic partner. And he was like, I don't need a partner. I don't need a partner. I have a partner. I have a business partner. I need a vendor. Okay. Yeah. You are a vendor. You must fix my tickets. And we were like, okay. Enough with the rhetorical stuff.
I love it. That's a customer right there. That's what I'm talking about.
And then let me just critique one last thing too. The advice, when you get to the advice part of the article, like what to do with it, let me tell you what the advice is. Number one, step into your customer's shoes. Number two, redefine post-sales roles to deliver on customer success mandate. Number three, coordinate the front lines. And it goes on like this. And I'm like, what kind of trivial bullshit is this? Like,
we just lost Bane as a sponsor. I just get
sorry, Bane.
Yep. Sorry.
I was born in the dark.
Breaking news.
Bane merely. No, I got that wrong. Bane merely adopted the dark. We were all born in the dark. All right, guys. We know what it's like to get your ass kicked by an angry customer. I don't think Bane does.
Look, I think it's so hard, even for the likes of Bane with their billions of dollars, to generalize what is like a whole freaking profession. That'd be like, hey, sales are down, and Bane writes a report and says, you should call more people. It's like, oh, yeah, that makes total sense, Bane. Thanks. How much money did you spend on that? And by the way, Bane can help you do that, right? That's what ends up happening is these reports are written so that people call Bane up and they're like, oh, I love that report. Can you help me do that thing? Like,
guys, this was all part of my plan. Because you know what? We have a part 2 of this topic. You didn't think so, but you know what it is. So we got a part 2 to this topic. Rob, what did you call it? The CS epistemology?
Oh, epistemology of customer success.
Yeah. So we got a part 2 with this. So
know what that word means. So
it's like a theory of knowledge. Like, how do you know what you know, basically?
Yeah, you all lovely.
Is my brain. That's how I know what I know. Actually, my brain can't be trusted. JP, do you want to take us out of here?
Yeah, listen, this article, I thought it was the perfect jumping off point, really. Like, clearly, yes, Bane is more reputable than Reddit, right? But then reputable also does not necessarily equate to providing a lot of value, for lack of a better phrase. It's going to be really interesting for people. You've seen this. Now stick around, because now we want to talk about something that really doesn't get, I think, talked about as much in customer success. So stay tuned for part 2, baby.
The epistemology.
The epistemology, Batman.
You've been listening to the Daily Standup by Lifetime Value. Please note that the views expressed in these conversations are attributed only to those individuals on this recording and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of their respective employers. For all inquiries, please reach out via email to dylan@lifetimevaluemedia.com. Find us on YouTube @Lifetime Value and find us on the socials @Lifetime Value Media. Until next time.